All right, how's everybody doing out there? Okay, so we're going to get started in about 2 minutes. All right, if you're watching the recording, just fast forward it for a couple minutes till we get started here. It's great to have everybody here. All right, let's get started here. Give me 1 second, we'll get all set up. Okay, hope everybody's doing good out there. Welcome to Stock Analysis Fridays. So great to have you here today. All right, so today we're going to look at a variety of different stocks that you want to look at. I got a couple I want to look at too, like Bitcoin, things like that. But feel free to type in your stocks in caps. All right. Now, what's interesting is that I've noticed on these things that, I start out really good in terms of the technology, the quality, and then it seems to get blurry at times. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that. I'm not exactly sure what to do with that. It says to open a widget. All right. I don't really know what I can exactly. It says good connection, and it bounces around, so we'll see how that works out. But anyway, my picture is clear there, but I think it's not clear on your end, which I kind of find funny. And also, too, the audio seems good on my end, but there's times when it's not on your end. So it has to do with the quality, I think, of the streaming as it goes through YouTube, which is something I don't think we can exactly control. Anyway, let's move on. All right, so let me just go through a couple quick things here, that I got to go through in order to be legit here. And of course, one of those is to talk to you a little bit about the risks involved in trading. I think we all know there's risks. There's nothing guaranteed. Anything you pick up here during our presentations, please run those by your financial advisor, money manager, accountant, whoever, just to make sure they're suitable for you, because we don't know your personal situation. And of course, they do, and that's important because some of the ideas may be suitable for you, and of course, some may not, depending on your age, risk tolerance, amount of money you got, and so forth. Also, too, we work in a realm of probabilities, excuse me, in the markets. not guarantees, all right? So you always have to use risk control and money you can afford to risk, called risk capital. All right, I got a bunch of books on Amazon. Check them out. One of the ones I suggest first is A Trader's Money Management System, published by Wiley a couple of years, quite a while ago now. But this is your starting book if you're just new in trading. Do not trade without risk control. And this book will help you know how to implement an easy-to-use risk control where you calculate your trade size and where your stops are and things like that. So check that out. That's your seatbelt you want to put on before you actively start trading the markets. And of course, you're going to see my charts in just a minute. And some may say, oh, great, that looks great because you're used to seeing our software. Some may say, what are those triangles? What are those things on the charts? And that's all part of what we call the ultimate trading system, where I time my entries and so forth. All right, let me see. And of course, what we're trying to do with this channel is get it to grow big enough so we get enough people here that we start sharing stock ideas. And you know what? Then it becomes almost like a stock picker service. Because then, you may come here and pick up a stock from somebody that's sharing it with us and say, hey, that really looks good. And we'll analyze it. And I say, yeah, it does look good. So it's almost like a stock picking service as well as a place to get a second analysis on a stock you may be in, and you might want to know where the stops are and so forth. So definitely bring as many people here as possible because that benefits everybody. And of course, like, subscribe, and share. If you hit the little bell after you subscribe, you won't miss anything. Now, we post a lot of stuff during the week, too. We have, client support webinars that we post up here now. We have Wednesday Night Live, which are educational events for traders that we post. And if you hit that bell, then you're going to get notified by YouTube that, hey, they posted something. So definitely hit that bell. And then finally, I want to thank everybody for being here, whether you're watching the live presentation or the recording. It's great to have the participation. All right, let me get out of this bad boy here and get into some of the markets. So whatever you want me to look at, all right, please type in caps. Gene just also type that in there as well. All right, couple things I want to start out with, and that is Bitcoin. All right, now, if you attended here weeks ago, I told you, remember, stay out of Bitcoin because it was in a slide to the downside. Look at that, okay? It is still sliding, okay? It's still coming down. And we'll see if it recovers, all right? Right now, this little indicator on both these time frames. Oh, and before I go any further, all right, notice I have three charts. They're all of the same thing. This is a 60-minute chart, which shows the short-term situation on the market I'm looking at. This is the daily chart, which shows the intermediate. This is usually the chart I use for risk control and actually determining when to targets and things like this. And then the weekly chart on the far left is the longer-term aspect. So I kind of always try to go with the flow of the longer-term aspect. So think of this as kind of the tide. You want to go in the direction of the tide. Think of this as the primary chart you really do your analysis on, and think of this before pulling the trigger as the chart you want to make sure that the momentum is going in the direction you want to take the trade. That's kind of how I do it. All right, so if we look at this, notice we have an indicator down here called the PTF. If you don't have this indicator, you should get this, okay? This indicator is worth its weight in gold because when it's red, it's saying don't go long. We're going to make lower lows. And the lower low is usually the lowest low in the red area. Okay, so that's how it works. It's simple, and it's a great indicator. We have now a red PTF on both time frames. So you don't want to go near Bitcoin now. And you shouldn't have gone near Bitcoin a long time ago because look at this. You had a pyramid up here, okay, that was indicating a short position. So why would you go long? Okay, no reason to go along there. Stay out of it. Don't go long yet. If it turns around, we'll see the momentum change. But right now, that's not happening. Okay, it's very simple. So stay out of Bitcoin for right now. All right, let me just go to another charting program and take a look real quick at the Dow. I've got a couple things I'm going to show you before we get to actually stock. But don't worry, I'll get to your picks. But these are kind of things I think people might be interested in. The Dow is down again a little bit today. I think it's down, let me check, 66 points right now, so not too bad. But here, as you can see, here's this PTF indicator, right? Red, red, red. The owl, which measures momentum, is red. This is still a little green. but this is red here. So we got more lows coming short term on the Dow. Now, long term, we've got a big correction that's going to probably happen at some point. Are we in it now? Possible. All right, could it make one more high? Possible. This indicator has to turn red at this point for us to really say we're in a major correction, and it hasn't done it yet. So it is possible it could make one more high. If the market continues to sell off, then that will turn red, and that will kind of give us a little more confidence we're in a major correction. Now, it did pass below, the Dow that is, it passed below the summer low, and that was significant, indicating that we are in a correction. The question is, will the market recover from this, make another high, or is this just the beginning of the major correction? And we really are leaning towards possibly a major correction, but this has to go red first, and if it doesn't, makes another high, that's not unusual. Okay, so that is a possibility. Let's take a couple look at some others here. The S&P 500 is another one that's basically similar to the Dow. It's come down as well. We still have this green owl over here, but bearishness on the short term, so that's no surprising. It's exactly like the Dow. One last one we'll take a look at here, over here, if I can find it. Here's the Russell 1000, okay? These are your smaller caps. Let that load, see if it does load. Nope, looks like it's not going to load. Okay, I don't think I have data on that one, actually, so sorry about that. All right, so let's see. I can look at the futures. Let's look at the futures market on the Russell here. Okay, so this is kind of, I do have data for that. So in the futures market here, we had no red PTFs, but we do have a downtrend in place on all time frames, here, here, and here. So basically short okay, but not quite for a long. And then finally, I want to look at the, where is that bad boy? NASDAQ. Give that a second to load. And the NASDAQ has been coming down hard. All right, and notice we have red PTF. So short term, we're still coming down. Red pyramid trading point of the ART system. Almost, check this out on the weekly chart, almost red. Very, very close, okay? So if you like this kind of analysis and you want to know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, check out our MORE, which stands for Market Opportunity Report Service. It's a weekly, it's a subscription. You can pay every month, but I do a video every Sunday before the markets get going on the Monday time frame and give you all the charts for long term and stuff like that. All right. Silver. Let's check out silver here. And feel free to type in your stocks at any time. All right, so now silver's coming down a little bit, and if you're long on it, have your stop here. We're actually long on this. Okay, I suggested a long position with a stop under here, so hopefully that'll hold. We've got a red PTF now, which is new, so we still have pressure to the downside. So if you're not in it, don't buy it yet. Wait for it to turn around. If you're in it, let's hope this bottom holds here. Basically, that's the bottom line with that. Okay, so we'll see. If we get stopped out, we'll have to reset and try again. All right, let's take a look at gold real quick here. As you know, because the PTF, if you look at gold here, let me just reset these indicators here over here. If you look at gold on that center chart, that's the daily chart. We have not been long because of this, the red PTF. Okay, it's been in a sideways motion for quite some time. I'd like to be long because the weekly chart is bullish, but I can't go against the red PTFs on the short time frame, and we got them on both here. So we're coming back down. As soon as this movement down ends and these PTFs are no longer red on gold, then I will definitely consider and look for a long position, and we can look at that every week as well. All right, let's get to some of the ones you guys want to get to out there. All right, SL, I know that is you, Stuart. Good to have you here. All right, GBTC. All right, so GBTC is the crypto, is the Bitcoin ETF. All right, so let's take a look at this. Again, we've looked at this often every week, and if you remember, about a month ago, I think it is now, we told you don't go near this thing, maybe 2 months ago, because it was sliding down, and it is. It's still sliding down. look how much negative pressure you have on the owl, which measures momentum. That's this indicator up here. But then you have the PTF over here and the negative owl indicating more low. So the lowest low on this chart, which is a 60-minute chart, is here. So short term, you're going down. Now, what we have to watch on this, is there an opportunity in GBTC? Maybe. But this depression down, this movement down, this bearish trend down has got to come to an end before we can even consider a long trade, right? So, why would we consider a long trade? The only reason is if you look on the chart on the far right, we still have a green PTF on the weekly chart. So that's indicating a possible another high here. So if the momentum turns around and we get bullishness on this chart and this chart, then that may warrant a long position. Now, what we have to be careful about is the downtrend is not over. Is the downtrend going to be enough to change this from a green to a red? So all it has to do is go below this lower horizontal line on the weekly chart PTF for it to turn red. And if that's the case, then no more long positions at all. Things have got to really change a lot. So for right now, my suggestion on this, stay out of Bitcoin. If you're in it, you should have been out already because you should have been stopped out long ago. And if you're still in it, then you're holding on to hope. So not the best way to trade, right? So don't go in it now. We'll look at it every week, and we'll see if things change. All right, hopefully, Stuart, that answers your question on that bad boy. All right, ETHE, which is the Grayscale Ethereum Trust. All right, again, the cryptos are getting hit here. This one's still going down. Now, the interesting thing on this one is we no longer have a green PTF because we made a high here. All right. And, you would have been stopped out way up here on this pyramid. I don't know if you can see it, that little one there. I'll open that chart up. So, again, you should not be long on this. Here's your stop out level right here in the 40s, or upper 30s, right around 40. Okay, and then a short position here on this pyramid. And your stop should be here. All right, and that's kind of the way you would work that. Very strong momentum still to the downside. The short-term 60-minute chart is bearish. All right, and look, we just got a red owl over here. You usually get a minimum of 4 of these histogram bars. So, again, this is not a buy at all. Okay, stay away from this. And again, if you were long, you should have been out a long time ago. So hopefully, Stuart, you are out. All right, let's keep going here. Let's take a look at some of the real estate ETFs. Let me just quickly go through those. All right, so some of the bullish real estate ETFs are sliding now, which is kind of interesting. So we're getting a little bit of a softening in the real estate market. I don't know if it's due to the time of year or the interest rates or whatever. Okay, probably a combination. But according to this ETF here, which is the VNQ, all right, we've got a red PTF and a red owl. And kind of bearishness coming down here and bearishness on this pyramid for a short position here. And we're out of any long positions on the weekly chart. Now, we don't have a red owl over here yet. So it's a little too early, like the Dow, or like all the markets, to really indicate whether we're in a significant bearish trend, but we're definitely going to pull back right now. So, interesting, okay? I don't know in your area if real estate is softening. Well, let's take a look at the inverse REITs, inverse ETFs, and see what those are doing. And kind of interesting, I think we had a little stock split or something on that one, I'm not sure. But on this one here, notice things are improving. But there is something that's interesting here. All right, so we have green here. So short term, this is going to go up because it's an inverse ETF when the regular ETFs on real estate are going down. So it's inverse. So this is something you could buy in your IRA, for example. However, the point with this is we still have a red PTF and a fairly red owl on the weekly chart. So that indicates we'll probably get one more low after this correction. Okay, this correction could come up quite a bit. But after this correction is over, it should head back down, which means real estate will be strong, okay, because this is an inverse situation. So keep that in mind, okay? All right, let's check out, here's a good one, USO. Let's check out the oil situation. I think we all know we're paying more at the pump, that's for sure, right? So give that a second to load, and you can certainly see really since 2020 that we've been going up in oil. So what's it going to do? All right, so we've had a number of pyramids in a row, even on the weekly chart, and we're getting a situation where we have to be careful here. It's kind of at a point of inflection. I'm going to open up the weekly chart here. So we're coming off this move here. Now, a point of inflection means that whatever the recent high is, you draw a line here. Whatever the recent low is, you draw a line here. And then when markets correct roughly 50%, that's a point of inflection. So we're at a point of inflection. So what does that mean? It means that if it is strong and continues up, that's very bullish. If it falls down here at this point, then chances are this was a minor correction in between the inflection points. So keep that in mind. So we don't have a red PTF here. It is yellow. We have a pretty decent bottom possibility here, right? Because this is 3, maybe a 4, 5. So this could be the beginning of something more significant to the upside, right? And I think it's worth a long trade here at this particular point. I would have liked to have gotten you in a lot earlier possibly on this, but at this particular point, if this thing pulls in to be the beginning of a new trend, you're getting in early. All right. Now, where do you put your stop? That's the issue. Okay. So you got to put your stop low enough so if this thing pulls back, it doesn't stop you out. So you've got a few options here. If you're going to take this as a long-term trade, which is kind of what you're saying if you're going to go in here because you think oil is going to go up for a while, you want to kind of put your stop at this pyramid here. Okay, for sure. If you kind of feel you're going to get a decent pullback at some point here, then wherever it reverses, you can go in at that point and put your stop in. But if you don't want to miss the trend, not a bad one, okay? Not a bad one. The only negative part about this is it's been going up for quite some time, and it's due for a pullback. So that pullback may stop you out. So you got to make sure your stop is far enough away you don't get stopped out. All right, and that means a lower trade size. So I like USO. We may have a major bottom in it, and we'll see what happens. It could keep going up, but it's not going to go up in a straight line. It's going to zigzag. It's going to go up, pull back, zigzag. All right, let's see what else we got here. All right, USO. Oh, we looked at that. Sorry. Just going right down the list here. All right, anything else? I can't believe it. No, nothing else from anybody? Short one today. All right, Disney. There you go, Disney. All right, let's take a look at Disney here. See what Mickey Mouse is doing. All right, so Disney, pretty bearish on the shorter time frames. Let's take a look at that. All right, great short positions, by the way. All right, but you know, this is bearish still. This is bearish. This is bearish. This is bearish. This is bearish, and we have a bearish pyramid, but no bearish PTF. So you don't want to be long here. All right, you probably were stopped out if you had a long trade on this, and quite honestly, in terms of if you were a longer-term trader on this, you would have been stopped out as well on this stop-out point here at 170. Okay, so you definitely don't want to be long, and you don't want to be buying here. Okay, if anything, take a short position. It's a little late for a short position, but a short position would have worked out earlier. Okay, so, you know, up in this area here, when it broke below this channel here, great short position there. Because you can also see we had bearish, when it broke this lower level here, we had a bearish pyramid as well. So anyway, you want to be short right now, don't be long. If you want to get long on it, wait for this movement down to totally end. All right, good. Now more symbols are coming in. Apple, AAPL. Let's take a look at the iPhone here. Okay, so, excuse me. All right, so we got a bearish 60-minute chart. We have a correction that we're seeing a bounce on right now, and we have a fairly prominent, strong uptrend still in place on the weekly chart. So on the weekly chart here, your stop would be here. So if you were holding something long-term, that's where your stop would be. You have starting to have bearish divergence in momentum, because that's what the owl measures. So you got to take note of that. I would not go long here necessarily yet, all right, because let's see how this unwinds. Is this a major top, or are we going to make one more? You know, that's the question. And sometimes that one more top, the risk involved in that, to take that, is more riskier than waiting it out. But in any case, let's see what the possibility is here. All right, so on this bad boy here, here's the big run-up we've had here. We still have a very bearish momentum here, okay, and bearish here and here. So this PTF alone is saying we'll probably go back down into the lower 150s, and here we are at 168. So I would not take a long position here. All right, if you wanted to think about a short position based off the PTF with the target right around in here, you could certainly do that. Okay, so Apple, you know, will recover more than likely, but right now it also could go into a more significant correction, so you got to be careful here. All right, good one to look at though. All right, now there's coming in. Let's see, this is great. All right, Joe BSX. All right, let's take a look at this bad boy here. All right, first thing I see right away is red PTFs. Okay, red, red, and red. So you definitely don't want to be long, Joe. Okay, and if you were long, you were probably stopped out for sure. Okay, this pyramid bullish would be null and void because you have a red PTF. So your stop out would have been here, and that's kind of the way you're short. Maybe here with the stop up here. I would definitely not be long on this right now. Okay, so wait to see what unfolds on here. If you wanted to take a short position, you certainly could. Just make sure your stop is at the very top up in this area here. Okay, if you can afford to move your stop up here with a lower trade size, that's even better. Okay, so just kind of keep an eye on that. All right, so that is, where am I? BSX. PayPal, PYPL. Gotta love PayPal, right? All right, it's for Omni here. All right, so we had looked at this before, I think maybe last week, I'm not sure. So it's still coming down. All right, now, first thing I see, red PTS. Okay, that indicates don't be long. All right, consider short positions. Then I look at the number of pyramids on the daily chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's an extended downtrend. Can't short it. Can't take a short on the after 4 pyramids in a row because it's too extended for the most part. You want to get in on the first 3 if you can. All right, now, long term, we expected, let's just open up this weekly chart for a moment here, full size. We expected a correction, and we got it. We're right in the target zone. So if this was an Elliott wave 3, this is a 4, looks like we're probably in 3 wave of C wave at this point. So, you know, this is close to ending, but it has not ended yet. So I would wait this one out. I wouldn't go short. It's too late at this time. All right, the risk to reward is not going to be that great. So I would wait this one out and wait for this bearishness to finish, and then I consider a long trade. Okay, so put this on your watch list for a possible long trade, but too soon right now. Key, how you doing, Key? TSLA for you. Let's take a look at it here. Are we at the bottom of a wave 4? Let's see. Well, we'll get to see that in just a second. All right. So this one has a green PTF. So notice how, you know, in a market as volatile as we're in now, it's a stock picker's market. There are bullish trades. There are bearish trades. But you have to really pick the right ones. That's the key, and go in the right direction. So, Key, this is a situation where at this point here, I probably would not be short unless I was trading the 60-minute short-term time frame. So I would probably be looking for a long trade, but not quite yet. All right, we got a couple things moving on here. We got a red owl, and this is red here. We've had a number of pyramids on the 60-minute chart, and we'll see if this goes red again. It's currently yellow. So I'm not convinced, based on this chart, that the correction is over. Things have got to change and turn more bullish. So let's take a look at that next week. Good one to look at. All right, so Tinky, I looked at the Dow earlier in the beginning of the meeting here today. I will take a look at the Dow a little bit later before we sign off, okay? Just remind me again. All right, so let's take a look at V. I think that's Visa or Verizon. I get confused. I think Verizon's VC or something. But anyway, here we are. All right, so here's a situation. We looked at this one earlier before. We think this thing is coming down to this fib retracement zone. So in terms of an Elliott wave count, that's a 3, this is a 4, and this is just a plain fib retracement that we use for wave 4s. So we think it's got a little further down to go before it would be a long. If you were long this, you'd be out. Okay, no question about it. So the question is, tough one to trade short side, a lot of volatility. Your stops have really got to be set well on this correction because wave 4s can be messy. We've got a red PTF, all right, that's very close to going green, okay, so we've got to keep an eye on that. So we'll see what happens with this. We obviously are in a little bit of a move up, but it'll be interesting to see if it breaks out and makes a new high. I don't think it will. I think it'll come up a little bit further and break down. If it does make another high, then that means we're probably, I mean, this is a 15% probability between this red, in this red area here that the wave 4 is in. So that's a pretty low probability. So we'd have to look at it again. But in any case, I would not go long here. Red PTF on the 60, red owl on the daily, and a big red owl still on the weekly. So I'd stay away from that one. All right, let's take a look at COIN. And not much history on this one, fairly new. All right, red PTF on the daily stands out. Had some pretty good short trades earlier. More lows coming, it looks like. You may get a bounce, all right? Not unusual after a big move down here to get a bounce, but this is red. And this will, if you get a bounce, this will stay red the whole time, and that means one more leg down. Now, what could happen is we could go down, turn this yellow unless the momentum is strong enough to keep it red. So we've got to kind of watch that. So is this at a bottom? Depends on the PTF on the daily chart. Will it stay red if it goes ahead and makes another move down, or will it correct and stay red, which means we're going down again? Okay, so I'd wait and see on this one, but I would not be long right now. Okay, definitely not long. All right, MU for John. Hi, John. All right, MU, little micron there. All right, let that load a second. First thing I look at is where the PTFs. Okay, so we got a yellow. Yellow is neutral, by the way. Okay, yellow doesn't mean anything. When we have a yellow PTF, that's kind of like, turning to the PTF guy and say, "What do you think?" And he goes like that. Okay, it's neutral. You can go long, you can go short on neutral. It's not telling us a darn thing, so it doesn't hinder us from doing a position. But when it's red or green, you want to go in the direction of the color. So red is bearish, green bullish, of course. We've got a red PTF on the 60-minute chart over here. So this baby, according to this, is going to go down a little bit further. All right, because this is the lowest low in that area. So not much further, maybe. Okay, we'll see if it goes down again and stays red or turns yellow. But in any case, you have a lot of active pyramids to the downside. So you don't want to take a long trade here. This is kind of interesting. We did have a higher high over here, just by a sliver, but it was. So you have bearish divergence, all right? So there's kind of more risk for a long trade at this point than anything else. It's not one of my favorites, okay? I would probably not even consider it, but you don't want to be long, okay? All right, let's keep going here. All right. Joe, so far, good. Join the futures room. Yeah, a lot of fun in the futures room. We do a day trading futures rooms Tuesdays and Thursdays, where we day trade the futures markets. All right. All right. Let's go back. Let me go back really quick and just take a look at the indexes here and cover that because I've got a request for that. So on the Dow Jones here. Okay, we have a situation where we have red PTFs on all three time frames. So we're still in bearish mode. So we're going to see how this works out. Now, in terms of the weekly chart here, okay, then this has got to turn red for us to have a more confidence that we have begun what I call a longer, more significant, and I mean significant, correction on the down. All right? Could we begin it already? Could this be an all-time high here? Actually, wave 3 and wave 5 up here. If that's the case, if this is a major wave 3 that's completed, we won't see that high again for probably 3 years. And we'll go into a big, probably 50-60% correction. Are we there yet? Could be. All right. All big corrections start off as small ones, right? All the indicators are bearish, but we need to have this red for a little more confidence. We've already taken out this red line, so one of the key levels of support we were looking for on the daily chart to be taken out has been taken out, and the PTFs are still red. Could the market rally and make one more high? Sure. Anything is possible until this really turns red. Then our confidence goes up that that won't happen. So we're going to keep an eye on it, all right? And I've seen, believe me, I've seen things get pretty low over here, and then all of a sudden you get a turnaround on one more high. But I can tell you, the days are numbered on the Dow and most all the major indexes, because even if you get one more high, that's going to be it, one more high probably. So you got to be careful about having this thing, be ready for this thing to go into a major correction. Best thing to do is get a hold of your financial advisor on some of your long-term holdings and say, all right, what happens if we go into a big correction? What should I do? And have a game plan, okay, with them. You know, you can short, you can buy inverse ETFs. For example, you know, on inverse ETFs, you got things like the SQQQ for simplicity. Okay, there it is. All right. So that's kind of even showing a little bullishness, which it should, when the market moves to the downside. But again, like the longer-term regular markets indexes, we still don't have the PTF in green to show that the market is coming down overall, and of course that would be going up on an inverse. Here's the inverse down. Okay, same type of thing. So this is kind of interesting in that we have a huge green PTF. So basically a big move to the upside is coming, all right? The question is it now, or is it going to be a little bit later? And again, this has got to go green for me to be more comfortable in saying that we are in a major correction on the other markets. All right, so we kind of gotta watch that. And I looked at the real estate ETFs already. That's a great place to go. We're seeing a little softening in the ETFs, so could be time of year and the upcoming interest rates. All right, well, I think I've gone through them all. Okay. Okay, so John, you were short on the MU. No, I'm sorry. I missed that. There's so many scrolling things here. So you're short on the MU, which is a good thing. Okay. Okay, so yes, it has more downside because of the fact that we have a red PTF on the 60 minutes. See? All right, a little more downside. Now, what I would do, John, do you have our indicators? Here's the way I would play this. I'll give you exactly how I'd play this. So if you have our indicators and you have the PTF, what I would do, depending on your position, is if this goes yellow, I would cover half of your position. Okay, so when the PTF goes yellow on the 60-minute chart, scale out. But stay with your short position. Your only problem here is you're right in that you have to be very nimble here, okay? So I would definitely scale out if that goes yellow, and then see if you get any pyramids on the 60-minute as well, and then maybe move your stop in that area too. Okay, you're going to have to watch this pretty much every day. Okay? Hopefully that would help you there. Okay. What else do we got cooking? I think that's it. Going back and see if I missed anything, like I missed John's there. Let's see if we got anything else. If I missed anything, let me know, okay? Sometimes it's hard for me to, see. I'm watching the charts over here. I'm watching the YouTube comments over there. Okay, my pleasure. The thing is that on MU, your stop is way up here. So this is actually can be good because if you get a lot of volatility, then you're in good shape. The problem could be if you get a bottom here and you don't get like another pyramid forming somewhere in here, then at that point it could come all the way up and stop you out. So that's why I'm saying take half a position here. That way you can lock in some type of profit for the move in case it surprises us. Okay? Definitely take a look at that. All right, down. Last one for Al here. Okay, so pretty much red across the board on the 60 and the weekly, and that would keep me from going long on this pyramid, so do not do that because of this. All right, so this has got to change before I get excited on this thing. Let's take a look here on the weekly for this. Let me just open that up. And as you can see, that's pretty bearish in terms of pyramids and OWL, which measures momentum, and the PTF. All right, so I think basically what this is saying here is we're having a little bit of a movement up at this particular point, and we'll see how strong that is. But with this being red, this is actually, to me, looking like a good short-term short trade. Say that 3 times, right? Short-term short trade. All right, so we have a green pyramid. I'm not too happy about shorting against that, but we're getting one here. So we may get something where it comes up, turns this one green, comes down, stops that green one out, and opens the way up for a short trade. All right, this has got to be red on this time frame before we could ever consider a short trade. But that could be a possibility, and we call that a scalp trade based off the PTF. All right, so no long positions here. Right now because of the red PTF, and we'll see what happens with this. Let's take a look at that one next week as well. Okay. All right, Thumper. Good information, learning from these morning sessions. Excellent. Good. That's the thing here is hoping to find some good ones for you guys. When we look at, and that's why if you can bring more and more people here, we'll have more and more opportunities. All right. So I've looked at a lot here today. Does anybody think there's any possible winners out there that we should be in? Anything we should be in that we looked at today? Last week it was silver, but silver's coming down a little bit. We got our stop as low as we can keep it, so I'm not recommending that one for this week because it's showing bearishness. Let's take a look at FCX. And Mark, that's for you. Okay. So Mark, what are you doing with this one? Because I see it pulling back here on the weekly chart. Now, let's just bring our bad boy data window over here because I think this has been stopped out on the weekly. So the low was 35.30. We had a low of 34.94. So technically speaking, if you had a long position, which would have been great. I mean, you could have gotten in here back in 2020 at under $10, and you could have just rode. Well, this is how the pyramids work, okay? When you have a pyramid form, the first one after a red one, that's your entry, okay? And then what we do is we move our stops up under the flat part of the triangle. So you would have eventually probably gotten stopped out on that, 4th pyramid there on this trend because prices went below that. So you'd be out. But what a trade, okay? $10 to $35, over 300% return. You're also getting bearish divergence here. All right? So you don't want to be long here because you got red here, and now you got red here. All right? So take profits, okay? Now, if you sold calls, which is what you're saying here, okay, be careful, all right, because we don't quite have a red here, but you may have hit it right, okay? So what do you do, all right? Well, technically speaking, on the daily chart, we haven't really gotten a short position. The only thing that's bearish here is this, and this is looking close to going bearish. If you had our indicators and you had a short call, all right, watch this here because it's going lower. And when it goes lower, if it can turn this red, then you want to keep those short calls. So at this particular point, you kind of want to indicate that as a possibility. Now, if this thing develops into a more significant correction, which it certainly could, we could be heading down to 30 to 20, 30 and a half roughly to 21 or so, okay, because we're not in the target range yet. But it also could bounce up and make another high. So this has got to be red for this to come to fruition, so to speak. So I would manage this very carefully here, and let's see if it goes down lower like this. Now we may get a move to the upside, and then it could drop lower because we're seeing bullish divergence here. We have red here, so we've had a nice move down. So don't be surprised if you get this and then a move down again for another low. And if that's the case, when this goes down below here, if this turns yellow and this is not red, I'd cover some of your positions and then keep the rest on for the possibility of a bigger retracement. Okay, but there you have it. That's the way I guess I would play that. All right. If you haven't sold any calls here, I'm not so sure I would do it. Okay, I would maybe wait for a retracement first and then sell them because you're going to get some type of retracement here, I think. All right, let's see what we got cooking here. All right, Joe says CF looks like it has some good mojo. Let's check at that one. I don't know if there's a winner today. I'm going to rely on everybody out there to help me with that. I haven't seen anything that knocked my socks off. Let's just say that. All right, so here we got CF here. Pretty bullish for the most part. I mean, if you look at the weekly chart, you can't, the reality, price is always right, by the way. So, I mean, that is in an uptrend, no matter how you cut it, okay? That's an uptrend, all right, both from a short-term standpoint. Also, too, we have no bearish momentum, okay? We're making higher highs and the momentum's getting higher. So that's very strong. I would not short this right now at all because this is so powerful, and we also have green, okay? There's no reason to consider a short position on this. The problem is that what do? Do you want to go long? I don't think I would go long here, folks. I mean, I'm a little concerned that this is getting overextended. My style of trading is I don't like to chase trends, okay? Because if you get in late, you're really kind of playing Russian roulette with, okay, one more high, but how much higher is it going to go? So you have to be pretty good on the target zone and when to get out. You can do that. But we are getting bearish divergence on this time frame. We do have green here, so we're going to get, there's a good possibility we're going to get above 75. All right, so that's, a 6-point possibility. So that you may want to go long on that. But when you put your stop here and you enter here and your target is here or a little higher, your risk to reward is 1-to-1. Okay, that's not kind of what I like to do. I like at least a 2-to-1. So this one doesn't knock my socks off, but it is definitely in an uptrend. But I think it's due for a correction. All right, let's see if there's anything else. Thank you, Joe, for sharing that. All right, so let me ask you guys a question. Any winner today? Any winner? Let me see if, here's one that was in our Moore report that we recommended a long time ago, and this is still coming down, but it's too late to get in it now. You can see here, a couple of these here, Clorox. So this is coming down. Flow was one where we got in earlier, but it's hit its target zone, so that's not a good one. HMX is coming down. All right, now here's kind of an interesting one. HIMX is coming down right now, So I wouldn't go long, but we have short term on the 60. It's still coming down. It's got to come down a little further. Let's see if this bottom holds. We can take a look at this next week. If that bottom holds, in other words, if it comes down a little further and reverses, that's a good sign. If it takes this bottom out, okay, then we're still in a corrective zone here, and we could be going into a more major correction. So, I mean, it's kind of, the market's kind of set up right now where kind of, it's kind of a wait and see type of thing. All right, Mark says, let's see AMGN. Let's take a look at that one. Okay, so AMGN, Amgen here. All right, so we've got a bearish PTF on the 60. Okay, so we kind of don't want to go long on that right now. If anything, to me, this is a tough trader. There's a lot of volatility in this. You got to be really careful with your stops. I don't see this one as being that great. Okay, even a downside position was stopped out on this pyramid. So we'll see what happens with that. All right, I'm not convinced that it's begun a major sell-off yet. If anything, it's coming up, and I'm not convinced that that bullishness is worth anything right now. Okay, but that's just me. That's just you looking at the technicals. Also, there's a lot of volatility in that one, too. All right. But, Mark, thank you for sharing that, okay? All right, well, I'm going to say I didn't see anything that great this week. What do you think? Market's been volatile, so any positions to the long side have pulled back, any of the short side have pulled back, so it's kind of a tough call. All right, but, there's always next week. All right, so I think, yeah, Mark, as Mark says, hard to find longs with these temporary corrections. Yeah, it's a pretty volatile market, so it's pretty tough. So we'll have to try again, I think, next week. But sometimes the best trade is no trade, okay, while this sorts itself out. So, I have a couple short positions that are doing good, but it's too late to get in them. That's the problem. A lot of these things were entered in earlier when they were, more beginning, so to speak, and better risk to reward. You always got to take into account risk to reward, because if the risk to reward's not there, the trade really isn't there as well. All right, well, let's, I guess we'll call it a day here. I think I got through everything. You all are great, okay, great symbols to look at today. We'll do this again, of course, next Friday at 8 a.m. Hopefully this is working. Hopefully, too, it's clear enough for you. I'm getting a little message that says the stream's bit rate is lower than recommended bit rate. But, when I start, it's always good, and then it deteriorates. The internet I have here is a gigabyte, so it should be getting to YouTube okay. So I think it has to be something internally in YouTube, not sure. All right, so that's it. All right, so thank you everybody for attending, and we'll see you back here next Friday. Have a great weekend.